Last September, at the United Nations Summit for Sustainable Development, the world leaders adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And this agenda comes in a series of many other actions which took place before. So this is really, it comes like a crown on top of all previous efforts to look at a new way for sustainability based on integrated approaches to development of our cities, regions, and sectors in general. The agenda identifies 17 sustainable development goals, and majorly they are focused on poverty was a major issue in this agenda, combating climate change, working for economic development, the sustainable cities and regions, working for better environments. The question of peace, migration were really top issues also on this agenda. So there is lots of issues, and the agenda looks really on integrating all these approaches in development in order to achieve sustainability in terms of social, economic, and environment in balance with each other. So what was new, I feel, with this agenda is the integrated global approach to development. So it's not one sector or the other. It is really how better economy can impact on inclusiveness, how environment can impact on economy. So it's like an integrated approach, and it is strategic approach. But the implementation of this sustainability agenda is left to the local states to develop their own priorities. I choose to focus on the sustainable cities and communities in terms of PLANA, and here the agenda focuses on the issues of inclusive cities, safetiness in cities, environmental sustainability, and building resilient cities and communities. So these were the major issues. In terms of inclusive and safe cities, it is based on that we would like to develop cities for all. We would like to have a diverse housing offer, accessible to the poorest people, to upgrade the slum areas, to have access to affordable public transport systems, and to improve the local economies in the different cities and regions. And also to have the questions of to deal with this upgrading of slum areas and informal settlement areas in cities. In terms of environment and sustainability and resilience, there is lots of focus on the climate change, how to combat climate change, how to work for better environment, reducing our CO2 and the footprint of cities in terms of environment, and how to work for dealing in better ways with municipal waste and air quality. There is an approach also to how to deal with the resources, better resource management in urban areas. And this was really a very big improvement, also looking at the agenda and the approach to sustainability. What is also another important point in this sustainability agenda is that for first time, I think the agenda looks at the urban areas, the peri-urban areas, and the rural areas in continuity with each other in terms of social, economic, and environmental development. Before, we were focusing on the compact city, we were focusing on cities, we were focusing on possibly the development of agriculture, but it is now acknowledged that development is not only an urban matter, but it's also the regional scale, which is greatly important, looking into resources and management of resources in continuity across areas. And that brings to mind that in order to be able to manage these resources in urban, rural areas, in continuity with each other, then we have really to focus on developing our regional planning capacities and national planning capacities to be able to extend this development. So this is the focus area of sustainable cities and communities. On top of that, we have to think in addition to what I told, that all the targets, the other targets in the sustainability agenda, including how to combat poverty and how to work for local economic development, they are all included in the sustainable cities. So when we work with cities, we have to include all these targets for other sector programs. And to implement this strategy, the United Nations established a central platform, and this platform should work with stakeholders and should work with, should support dialogue through a series of meetings. For example, in this present day, the 20th, there are ongoing meetings which place focus on community engagement and community role as essential in extending sustainability goals. So, so we'd like to look at how is it going then with all these principles that are set, that are launched. How is it going in the cities? I choose to look, in fact, on the European and on the Middle Eastern areas, which I know. So, in relation to Copenhagen, I can present it because I have been leading the working groups towards a new city strategy for Copenhagen in 2007. And already then, we have worked with the terms environmental sustainable city. We have worked with the term a diverse city for all, a dynamic and knowledge city. And we have chosen to focus on one space in the city because we believe that it is important to improve the locational potentials in order to be able to promote sustainability. And of course, this strategy was based on an open dialogue with different stakeholders, and it was leader in terms of looking into partnership to implement the strategy. So it's not only in terms of a plan, which is in many countries, making a plan for a city, it's like a study, but here it's really operational, which is supposed to be led through partnerships as well. So for Copenhagen to be a sustainable city, we worked with several elements like the Copenhagen as an environmental capital for Europe. We focused on the compact city, so we wanted really to compact and densificate in the urban area. Less cars, more bicycles, more multimodal transportation. We worked with energy zones, and we included environmental policy in urban development. At that time, I worked also as project manager for Agenda 21, and all the input poured into this sustainability strategy. So it is also a sustainability strategy based on enabling Copenhagen as a diverse city, working with different housing offer, focusing on creating more mixed neighborhoods with a mixed retail offer, and creating a diversity for everyone in terms of everyone should have the right to the city. And as in terms of a dynamic city and local economy, we placed big emphasis on improving synergies between research and industry and universities, and cooperating across the sound with Malmö city in order to make a more focus on the university research industry. The city by the water was one of the major things because we wanted to focus on the potentials of the city and its locational space potentials. And, but here what was important is that we led also a comprehensive coastal management program for all the coastal areas, which was also avant-garde at that time. In London, I will talk about two boroughs in London, because they can provide a lot of learning about how the challenges to planning. In Copenhagen, to go back, in Copenhagen the challenge was implementing the diverse housing offer. We had big difficulties in finally to implement an accessible housing, which is affordable housing. So it kept and remained a major challenge, in fact, despite all efforts. In the London boroughs, I looked at Hackney here for you, to see what is their focus areas in their sustainable community strategy, which is the last one now. And it is like in Copenhagen, there is also focus on that. They want to develop a vibrant part of London, a diverse neighborhood, looking at the diversity of housing offer, looking at the possibilities also related to the citizens, in fact, and their ethnical diversities. So there is also focus on the issues of health. There is focus on the issue of accessibility, transportation, that the city should be, that there is big intentions to improve the economic situation of the citizens through bringing them to employment and creating more employment opportunities. And there is also this focus again on the issue of safetiness, on inclusiveness, and fairness. Must say that, I mean, these priorities also of London Borough of Hackney, because it is known to be an area with lots of council flats, it is also to eradicate poverty. It's to improve the situation of the citizens. It's also to make them access health help, because it is also known to have a big concentration of mental health issues. And to improve the safety and security. So it is also to improve their active citizenship, which is one of the major elements also in the sustainability agenda. It is to feel like one is acknowledged for whom one is. And of course, there is all the other technical elements, from reducing the CO2, improving services to the citizens, and improving the urban design, the qualities in the urban areas. The London plan for the City of London, here the challenge is different, and here it is an area with lots of employment for over 300,000 people. So the issues, the major focus is very different. It is, of course, to maintain the economic potential of London. Sorry? No, I have 5 minutes. It's 5 by hour, I'm sorry. It's just, I'm watching the watch. It's, oh, sorry. It is to also to capitalize on the quality of urban design, and to make the area more sustainable in terms of energy and services. However, the main learning is that these two areas are areas with two specific problems, with two specific potentials. And one comes to think about, it is very important to have an overall vision for London, and not only in terms of boroughs. Because if we could look at the boroughs, across the boroughs, if we could create more cooperation among the London boroughs, we could have resolved lots of issues around, for example, inclusiveness, around finding housing possibilities, which is a major problem in London, threatening inclusiveness. So there are different challenges facing implementation in European planning, and one of these major challenges is also that city planning is still seen as a tool for space organization. I mean, these examples I show, they are leading examples, but in many other places, the planning is still seen as a tool to regulate land use and building issues. There is the issue of regional inequalities still, and the challenges are very different between a center city and a city which is located away away from the central power. So they have very different dynamics and very different challenges and responses. In the Middle East, there are different types of challenges, because the cities are facing this rapid urbanization. There is the migration flows, there is the growth of informal settlement, unemployment, environmental issues, incapacity of meeting service needs and networks, environment, question of governance and women role. Like the informal settlement here, we can see that 60% of Cairo is informal settlement. And in top of that, we have all the other conditions in the Arabic world, which is making big pressure on cities, which is, for example, that about 18% of the population live below national poverty line, that we have the major development sectors are weak, we have weak delivery of services, we have declining middle class in most of the countries, and the status of women and rights. And that one of the major challenges to planning and governance at the local level is, again, the traditional planning approaches, which is really, they are not capable of meeting any needs, any dynamics. They cannot deliver this sustainability agenda. And there is need, accordingly, to improve all the legal and institutional frameworks. There is need to place big emphasis on capacity building in these countries. And these issues are not only manifesting on the local level of these cities, but they are also anchored in a national level challenge. We have big national level challenges related to how nations in the Arabic world administrate their sectors, their sector programs. We feel, I know that there is lack of congruency among these sector development goals. And this is making a big challenge also for cities. There is need to have more concise planning systems that looks at the urban, regional, and national levels in order to be able to coordinate between local planning needs and provision at the national level and visions. So there is this very big gap, and this big gap needs to be managed through competent systems working with all levels. And there is the problem of using using all the potentials of human and the management of human and natural resources. There is big need for understanding this challenge, and also to improve the transparency and bureaucracy issues. I can tell you, everybody when they come to the Middle East, they say we have to improve the participation of NGOs and private sector, and they become really like repeated issues. And I know they have to be improved, but I am emphasizing that they need to be improved in good frameworks. We have to create the frameworks for the participation of the private sector in the framework of a national plan for the country, in a framework of a national vision that also think of inclusiveness and not only in arbitrary economic policy. And that's what happened, in fact, in Syria, because there were lots of economic opening, but in parallel there were no inclusive policies that could support this change. So that's one of the challenges, and I am finishing to please you, but it's the last one. We have to build on ongoing efforts, and there are lots of things being done in Arabic countries, not to take also this success from them. I mean, in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, for example, they are working in Riyadh to move from this traditional way of building to more green buildings, and there are lots of efforts, but we need to move to more sustainable cities. And I think there is acknowledgement now of the importance of having this national level involved, because now they are working on national planning reforms, looking at their capacities, at their local systems, looking at their planning and their planning approaches. And they are working, the Saudi with the United Nations, on developing these possibilities of a complete reform with building urban observatories and the capacities of these systems. So finally, it is very important. The experiences are very interesting, and it is very important to exchange these experiences among countries, whatever it is between the Europe and Middle East or other parts, or it is on the same platform of one country. It's very important to have this exchange, and it's important to build awareness and change behavior at all levels, including the normal citizen. It is really worth to work from bottom-up approaches. And I mean, the buzzword of the United Nations, no one is left behind, is very important. But this, I think that we should walk the talk. I mean, it is important to have collective action and to support rights, peace, and livability in order to be able to implement the sustainability agenda. And looking for situations like in Syria, and I'm Syrian origin, I feel like it is, I feel left behind, because I feel if this is the agenda, then there must be more collective action to support that Syria is not left behind in terms of peace, in terms of sustainability, and in terms of rights. Thank you.